was born in Brooklyn, New York. I came from a very, very humble family. Irish and Jewish, strong family values. My mom and dad were my best friends. They instilled music in me in a very, very young age. I was probably the only kid on the street listening to Paul Simon and Snoop Dogg and Biggie Smalls at the same time, and Frank Sinatra and Perry Como and the Carpenters. And again, music was on in my house. Like, there was never ever a dull moment. My dad was a huge Michael Jackson fan. The very, very first time he saw me moonwalk, he was bawling his eyes out. So I was a junior in high school at Performing Arts, LaGuardia in Manhattan, feeling like I was going to be the next Britney Spears, studying music. I didn't have a care in the world. My mom had this persistent cough. She was a smoker. And she just had this cough. My father said, let's just go get it checked out. Let's just stop off. My brother, Doug, is a physician. And my dad stops off in the hospital my brother was working in to just get an x-ray of my mom's lungs, just to see why she's having this cough. So I remember that day I go inside to the hospital. My sister was with my mom hanging out in the car. And I went into the hospital with my father and my brother. And I see my brother just start crying. And he read the x-ray of my mom's lungs, and it showed 2 large tumors on her lungs. I went home that night and I cried myself to sleep. From the time my mom was diagnosed, she passed away 6 months to the date of her diagnosis. She died in January of my senior year of high school. And it was the hardest thing I ever had to do was tell my sister that her mom passed away. And my dad and my brother came to me and said, look, we're going to need you. We're going to kind of need you to roll your sleeves up and be a mother to June. My sister's name is June. So I went from being, the girl that wanted to just dance on stage and sing and dance like Janet Jackson and Britney Spears to becoming a mother. So here I am at 17, on top of my class at LaGuardia High School, gave up my music career and was taking my sister to school and, doing dishes, starting learning how to cook. I was making like Franks and beans because I didn't know how to make anything else. My mom did everything for me, so here I was like on hands, like learning everything for the first time. My sister kind of focused on dancing and cheerleading and trying to be a typical teenager. And I was just focusing on being her mom. I gave up a lot of my friends. I should say they gave up on me. They didn't really know how to deal with the loss of my mother. They stopped calling, they stopped calling me because they didn't think I was going to want to go hang out at the park or go, to a sporting event or a concert because I was busy watching my sister. But my father, after my mom died, I think he took it to heart. 11 months to the date that my mom died, he was going to the dentist to put my sister's braces on with her. I never forget it. And I was out with my brother for his birthday. And we get a phone call from the dental receptionist saying, your dad just had a massive heart attack in our office. He's been rushed to the hospital. And they gave him an EKG, and it showed that he needed triple bypass surgery, that 3 of his arteries were clogged. I remember my dad grabbed my hand, and he said, Case, just please always take care of your sister. And again, to this day, I think about those words of, what my dad, when he said that to me, it was like, okay, even though he thinks he's going to be okay, something told me at that moment that he wasn't. And the fact that he trusted me enough to be able to be the caretaker of my 12-year-old sister meant everything to me. We got a phone call on Sunday morning. My father died in his sleep and went into cardiac arrest. So I got a phone call, basically, it was like deja vu when my mom passed away, 11 months after, saying that my father was no longer here. When it happened, all I thought about was my sister. That's the first words out of my mouth was, where's June? So I never really got a chance to think about my own grieving process, probably up until about a year ago, and we're going back 12 years that they've passed. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about my parents. My tattoo I got right after they passed away is mom and dad and a music note, because that's it. It's my parents and music, and that's what gets me through every day of keeping their memory alive and keeping their spirit alive. And again, the values that they taught me in the 17 years that I had them, they will never leave me. I think the hardest thing with, I guess, getting older and not having them, not only their guidance and influence, but just the fact that they're not seeing any of this. You know, like, thank God I became successful in my craft, and there's nothing more I would love than to be able to like take care of them and buy them a house and, you know, have them watch their grandkids, you know, grow up. But grieving and being able to, you know, be a role model to other kids that have lost their parents or lost their loved ones, that's how I get through it, you know, and I know my parents would want that for me as well. After losing my parents, I graduated from LaGuardia Performing Arts High School, and my classmates were like Alicia Keys and Nicki Minaj. And so my father had a huge record collection in the basement. I never in my life would have thought about DJing. And the fact that I had such diverse music tastes, it really made me the DJ that I am today. I was one of the first DJs that started mashing up in clubs, where you're blending completely different genres together. And Paul Simon and Hypnotize, you know, Notorious Big, was one of the first mashups that I actually kind of made popular in the DJ scene. And my father was with me throughout all of that. My advice to kids that lost their parents is to never stop laughing and to never stop smiling. You know, I got through a lot of it. I still get through a lot of it, you know, by staying positive and trying to remain, you know, high-spirited. I keep my parents' spirit inside of me every day. The biggest thing that my dad has taught me is to not feel bad about everything that happened in your life, to try and change your future. You know, your past is your past, and your present is your present, and the future belongs to you. For those kids out there that lost someone, lost a loved one, lost a grandparent, brother, sister, parent, it's going to be okay. It's really hard at first, but again, you know, it will be okay in the future. And I know that, and I didn't think it was going to be as a kid, but it did get better, it gets easier. You'll always miss them, I can't lie. You will always miss them, but it does get easier as it goes on, and you become a lot stronger because of that.